Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing? Another week, another episode. This is Stats Over Politics. As always, I'm your host, Sean Holko, alongside a brother-sister duo, none other than the Dents, Mr. Kevin Dent, Miss Alex Dent, joining me here on a Monday night. Mr. Jaevon Toddy, the Podfather, should be with us before you know it, as we're back for another episode, number 182. And now we're all back together. Once Jaevon arrives in a bit, we'll all be back together for basketball season. Kevin and Alex have been holding it down for us on Friday nights throughout the football season, and I greatly appreciate that. Alex, I'm going to start things off with you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. This 3-day weekend and this rainy atmosphere in Sac has been great for my soul. So I'm happy to be here.
I'm glad that you were able to have a 3-day weekend. I do not get President's Day off, unfortunately, so that makes one of us. Kevin, does it make two of us? Did you get today off?
I don't work Sunday, Mondays in general, so
okay.
I don't get any. Well, I don't get any 3-day weekends. I don't usually work Mondays anyways.
That's a bummer. That is what Toddy would say is a cold world. And so, Alex, I'm glad you were able to enjoy your 3-day weekend. The rain has been kind of nice in Sacramento. And the biggest reason why I like the rain is because I like to go to the snow, and you can't get snow without the rain. And so I'm grateful for that. As we are going to be talking NBA and NFL today on episode number 182. And Kevin and I were just talking in our pre-show meeting. It's crazy that we are at 182 episodes. But one thing I wanted to acknowledge before we officially dive head into basketball season is that congratulations to Kevin for winning our football pick'em this season. He pulled it out, took it from me at the last second, but I got to give kudos where it's due. Congrats to Kevin as our
now I need two more to catch on.
Yeah, well, our guy Gary, he won the first one, and I took the baton, and now I'm afraid I'm not going to get the baton back after you ripped it out of my grasp. And so kudos to Kevin, and I'm sure we'll have some basketball pick'ems coming up later in the season when the playoffs start to approach, just because basketball is different, as we know. It's not
82 games be crazy.
Exactly. And to be making picks like every single day, basically, versus on a Sunday or a Thursday night. And so the pick'em will return. But for now, Kevin is our reigning champion, and he will be our reigning champion in football until at least next year. So kudos to Kevin. Let's not waste any more time, guys. Let's get right into it with NBA All-Star Weekend, as we're going to recap mainly the game itself, because as you might have seen in the title of today's episode, NBA All-Star is back with a question mark and an exclamation point, because we're excited. For years, we have been waiting for NBA All-Star Weekend to be revived. It's been damn near a decade since it was a must-see event. And I understand with how it's fallen on the calendar for several years now on Valentine's weekend, like a lot of people are out doing other things. But the game itself, the weekend, has been pretty stale for a bit. But for those of you who were tuned in on YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, you see the hat that I'm wearing today, NBA on NBC. And man, I got to give credit to NBA on NBC, because they seem to be the biggest ones who have revived it. Even when it comes to the pregame intros, where there's actual packages going into these regular season games that play into the storylines and make you really give a shit about the Magic playing the Hornets in the middle of the season on a Tuesday night at 4:00. And so NBA on NBC, they have just absolutely nailed it so far. And now it has trickled into All-Star Weekend. So Kevin, I'm going to throw it to you first. Just what was your reaction to what we saw specifically yesterday with the All-Star game, but just the weekend in its entirety?
So I have been one to shit on the All-Star game, saying they should get rid of it, they should do this, they should do that. But because everybody knows that I am a huge LeBron James fan, and next year is kind of up in the air, I was seated the whole time. Everyone was talking about, is he going to make it? He shouldn't make it. It's in LA. I don't know if I'll see this again. 22 straight years. First year not a starter in that 22 years. So I was locked in, man. I wanted to see the format. And from the jump ball, you saw that Victor Wembanyama wanted to play. He wanted to bring it. So I'm sure we're going to talk more about that. But for us to meet him, us being the Americans, Anthony Edwards, Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, they all said, all right, you want to play? Let's play. I love the idea. When I say the idea, I mean world versus America. We don't need to do 3 teams. I think if we just did world versus USA, would get the same kind of atmosphere because it was this good with Luka and the Joker playing 5 minutes, no SGA, no Giannis. They have enough guys to make it a 12 or 12, 13, 4, however many you want to play. They have enough guys to equal it out to just play 2 games because we saw 3 15-minute quarters and 1 overtime, I believe, 5 minutes. Just imagine if we could have seen that for 2 straight hours. The world is caught up. The level of talent is there. They have the guys. And this wasn't even their full team. So I would love to see them battle out for 4 quarters. And I get it. 15 minutes makes it a lot more competitive because back in the day, for 3.5 quarters, they do whatever. In the last 5 minutes, they lock in. But Victor Wembanyama is going to let it be known that we're going to play from the jump. And if we're going to have guys play from the jump, let's get more of it. And the other thing that I want to say about this is I don't understand how Devin Booker at 29 years old on the young guys team. I was really weirded out about that because you see all these other old guys and you see Devin Booker. And it's funny because these young guys are bringing in the new atmosphere that we need. So a lot of the older guys were a part of the dead period where it was kind of just, it's All-Star weekend. Who cares? We're not going to watch it. But these young guys are really bringing in that new energy that we need. And it starts with Victor Wembanyama. And everyone's saying he's going to have this Kobe-esque effect with the All-Star game because he's going to bring it. They shot 5 free throws last year, and they shot 3 in the first 3 minutes. So they're playing a lot harder. So it's going to be fun to see. And the only thing I'm going to say from Saturday's night's activities, the only thing that I saw was Damian Lillard played 0 minutes all season and won a 3-point contest. And I saw Jace Richardson try to do a 360 back off the backboard and land on his head. So everything that happened before Sunday, I couldn't tell you. I've seen bits and pieces of it, but the main event definitely showed up.
Yeah, you even had Shams, the NBA insider, playing in the celebrity game, and I believe he was 0 of 4. I think he was 0 of 3 from 3, 0 of 4 overall, 0 points. And it's crazy to me that he couldn't even get a single bucket. And I'm not trying to hate, but the reason why I am is because he dropped a full-on hype video beforehand. And it was clean as fuck if you have not seen it. But like for him to like pick up be on his phone, put his phone down on the hardwood, pick up a basketball, launch a 3, cash, and then it just went into like him making shots and preparing for it. You can't drop a hype video like that and then give me a goose egg. I need 2 points. I would not be saying anything if he gave me 2 or 3 points. But to have a hype video like that and drop a goose egg, oh, man, Shams. Kevin, the only thing I want to say as a response to what you were saying before we pass it off to Alex is my only concern would be if they do straight up world versus USA, is that does that dilute the all-star field by saying we have to have 12 Euro guys, we have to have 12 Americans? Does that take an opportunity away from an American who you could have a guy like De'Aaron Fox, who was the last addition to this game? He hits a game winner in one of the games. And would you rather have, I don't know, I love my guy Lauri Markkanen, the finisher from the Utah Jazz, but Lowry wasn't there. Would you rather have Lowry there rather than De'Aaron Fox just because he's a European? That's the only concern I have is if you are shooting for strict, and if it becomes the norm where it's like, this is the format we're going with, sorry, not sorry, be one of the 12 best Americans. But that would be my only concern. And so before I give more thoughts on the All-Star game, Alex, I wanted to pass it over to you because you've been very patient. Just what was your reaction to the weekend overall?
Before you go, Alex, I just wanted to throw out here, we saw that this year. I mean, I know Alex is a Norman Powell fan, but Keontae George deserved a spot. But because Norman Powell's not in America, he got a spot. So, I mean, we saw it this year. We saw because he's a foreigner, he has to make it. So, I mean, yes, it's going to shorten a lot of guys, but there's also, we've seen it this year. So, that's all I wanted to say.
Because Norman Powell deserves an all-star nod.
Keontae George averaging 26.
Oh, my gosh. You're hating on my guy, who I said in the beginning of the season he should be an all-star. And
one thing I will add about that is, like, Norman Powell was born in San Diego, and they fit him in there by saying that he was born in San Diego, and they fit him in there because they said he's of Jamaican descent. But it's like, born in San Diego, went to high school in San Diego, went to college at UCLA. He is SoCal through and through. And so, like, Carl Anthony Towns.
I would say Carl Anthony Towns, too.
They kind of wedged him in there saying, you're from the DR. Like,
at least he played on the national team. You know what I mean? I feel like if Norman Powell, if he could play for the USA team, he would have. You know what I mean? And so I think that is weird. I will say that. I do like the format. So I'll say this first. I did not watch Saturday. I'm not a big fan of the dunk contest anymore. I think the last time I watched it was like 2016. The 3-point contest is like a hit or miss for me. Maybe I'll tune in, maybe I don't. Or I'll just watch it online like afterwards. I thought it was weird that Damian Lillard was in it. I remember texting Kevin. I'm like, how is he in it? He hasn't shot a 3 this whole season. How can he win it? Anyway, but for the All-Star format, I loved it. I think the World versus USA was so entertaining. The only thing I didn't understand was the amount of players. So usually there's 24 All-Stars, but because you have 3 teams, I guess there's more All-Stars than. So like it was hard to say like who should have made the All-Star team, because I don't know how many people are on the All-Star team anymore when you have like this kind of format.
There were 25 All-Stars this year.
There's 25. Okay.
And also there was like 5 guys total who were hurt. So that factors into it too.
Yeah. Okay. Because then I also thought they should have had a 4th team, and that could have been like the Rising Stars. But
they did that last year and everybody hated it.
Yeah, with the G Leaguers.
At least this rookie class, I felt like it could have been a little bit competitive. Like it's not like a USA or World. It's just whoever's like the best rookies or the second years, and then they play against the World or whatever. I don't know if it could have worked out. I didn't watch the Rising Stars game or anything like that. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think this is probably what's going to stick. I think that, like Kevin said earlier, when Wembanyama really set the tone, Kawhi Leonard played out of his mind.
31 points in the quarter is crazy.
It's crazy work. Crazy. And he was like a bust. I mean, an all-star, like he didn't
he didn't originally.
Somehow he got a nod. So I'm kind of confused about that aspect of the format, but I do like the World versus USA.
Yeah, I do too. And then we ended up having like old head Team USA and the young guns USA. And then you had the kind of in-betweeners like a De'Aaron Fox on the old head team. And Alex, I'm really glad that you mentioned Kawhi Leonard, because that's who I really wanted to touch on and get in depth with. Because if you have Kawhi Leonard, arguably the face of load management, giving effort and playing really well in a glorified exhibition game, then I think the All-Star game is doing quite well at that point. Because to have Wemby come out and say, I'm here to compete, I want to show that I am the best. And you had Giannis's 2 sons just awestruck by Wemby. And then Giannis made sure to tell his sons, I'm better though. He's like, you're better than him. He's huge. And he's like, I'm better. Your dad is the best. He's better. And props to Giannis for making that clear. But you have a guy like Wemby who is coming out and setting the tone. Anthony Edwards, who won the All-Star Game MVP, he said that afterwards in his post-game interview, saying, Wemby really came out here, set the tone. We had to try and match it. That's what got us going. Then you had a guy like Kawhi getting hot. They kept feeding Kawhi. You had Steve Ballmer going absolutely nuts, just living in the moment and forgetting about all that aspiration, paying Kawhi to market trees, BS that came out from Pablo Torre earlier this season. Because that's something that, like, as Kawhi was going off and then they showed Steve Ballmer reacting in his arena that way, that's all I could really think about is, like, enjoy this now because shit's going to probably hit the fan in the offseason. But the point is that Kawhi Leonard is the guy who you expect to have 5 minutes like a Luka and Jokic. But for Kawhi to have the performance that he did, he doesn't win the MVP because the young guys, they just went absolutely nuclear in the championship game, and that's what gets Ant Edwards the MVP. But I loved it. I believe that it's back, and I'm happy. What about you, Alex?
I was gonna say something real quick. Those warm-ups go crazy when I saw them. Like I was like, oh wow.
Even the jerseys were good.
The jerseys were fire, but like the warm-ups, I'm like, okay. Like this is going on sale. I might have to cop the jacket. Like,
what do you guys think about them going back to wearing their own jerseys? I think that would
love it.
I always liked that.
That's overstimulated for me. There's too many colors on the court. Like,
yeah. I mean, because then it's like, what do you do if they have people that, because you can't do the 3 teams, so you can't do black home and aways. So you do homes, Christmas, and I mean, so that would be kind of difficult. But I really do miss the days of scrolling through TikTok and be like, oh man, they really used to wear their own jerseys.
Well, I just miss the different jerseys in general. Like, I'm tired of the city editions having nothing to do with the colorway that they have now. Like, I miss the nicknames on the back of the jerseys. I miss the Christmas
sleeves.
Cursive. Yeah, even sleeves. I didn't like sleeves, but like, just give me some variety. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care about a lime green court or the NBA Cup. Like, I want.
Yeah, that's hard to watch.
Yeah, that's a great point. I agree with that. I would love for the actual jerseys to be worn in the games, because you could have one team wearing their home whites. You could have the other team. The other team, Alex, is what's going to really overstimulate you, because you'll have the purple and the orange and the green and all on one team versus a bunch of players all wearing white. But I look at the MLB as a prime example of why they should do that, because in the MLB All-Star game, they have them wearing their actual jerseys. And so you have whichever team is hosting. So if it's an American League team, you have all the American League guys wearing their home white jerseys, and then the opposing team wears their road jerseys. And so I would love that, Kevin. And also in regard to, as Alex said, the nicknames on the jerseys that we saw, was it in the bubble during COVID? Am I remembering correctly? Was it in the bubble?
No, COVID was the protest things on the back.
Oh yes. When did they do
was that Christmas?
No, it was during like a weird, like maybe lockout. It was like early 2010s, I feel like.
Okay.
Like King James. I remember that.
Yeah, Ray Allen. It was the movie.
Jesus Shuttlesworth.
Jesus Shuttlesworth. So it has been a while ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it was Christmas. I'm not sure. I'll have to fact check that real quick. But yeah, that's a great idea. I feel like the All-Star game is a perfect time to do that. And just like you said, just give us some variety. I mean, to be fair, this All-Star game was fantastic compared to what we've seen in recent years. And so for us to start nitpicking like, oh, now they need to do this, now they do this, we are grateful. We are extremely grateful. If we get exactly what we got yesterday, I'll be satisfied every single year. But it's like, okay, we've risen the bar, NBC. Now let's keep making it higher and higher and higher. And then the last thing I wanted to say about the weekend is Damian Lillard coming out and like still being on the mend from a torn ACL and going out there and winning the 3-point contest, having it be his third 3-point contest championship in a 4-year span. That guy is just absolutely ridiculous. He won it back-to-back in like 23, 24, and now for him to win it in 2026. I was so happy to see him back out there. I'm glad that they let him compete. And I saw this on Twitter, and so forgive me if I got fooled by some AI or Photoshop, whatever. But one of the basketball pages posted, and I should have just instantly gone to his Instagram to fact check if it was real, but I saw a basketball page posted that Dame had texted Steph after the 3-point contest, and he was saying, hey, next year we need you in it, we need Clay in it, we need D-Book in it, get some other guys in there, and Konka Nipple. I would absolutely love that, because it doesn't seem like we're going to get any variety with the dunk contest. So let's at least get it with the 3-point contest, because you can't the risk of going out and embarrassing yourself in the 3-point contest is a lot lower than in the dunk contest, where you have a guy like Jace Richardson almost dying on the court. And it's like, kudos to him for putting forward the effort. And then we also saw Mac McClung. He posted videos of all the dunks that he would have done, because they basically kind of excluded him, even though he's been the guy who's keeping it alive. So overall, I'd say All-Star Weekend was a win. How about you, Alex?
Okay, real quick. Something I like that idea. Hopefully that's not AI with like Steph and Clay and all of them doing it.
It was real. He posted on the story.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Thank God. I just didn't check it.
Because one thing I would love to do, maybe not next year, but maybe the year after, is because I remember they wanted to do like a Caitlin Clark and a Sabrina Ionescu in it. That would be so dope. That would be amazing. So I think that also could help. Just bring like more notoriety, especially on that Saturday. I feel like they got Sunday down, right? Like they just, like you said, like keep chipping at it. But Saturday is where, like, to me, next year, I'm going to be looking towards like, okay, how are we going to revamp this day? Because this day is not so great.
It was 2014 with the jerseys, by the way. Christmas, 2014.
Okay, so it was Christmas. Thank you for fact checking that, Kevin. I appreciate it. I figured it had to be a while ago for Ray Allen to be featured in it. But Alex, I love that idea to bring in 2 WNBA stars, especially 2 shooters like a Sabrina Ionescu and Caitlin Clark, because we saw Sabrina compete against Stephen Curry a couple years back, and like that was my highlight from the All-Star Weekend, because Sabrina Ionescu is my favorite WNBA player. She's the reason why I got so into the WNBA in 2020 again, after I had kind of drifted away for about a decade because the Monarchs left or disbanded. But yeah, that would be awesome. And it would also just continue to use the NBA's reach and spotlight and put some more spotlight on the WNBA. But at this point, we don't even know if we're going to have a WNBA season coming up because of the collective bargaining agreement, and we will revisit that as it develops. As we keep things moving here on episode 182 of Stats Over Politics, Sean Holko alongside Alex Dent and Kevin Dent. Hopefully, Jaevon Toddy will be joining us soon as we move on to our next NBA topic, tanking in the NBA. Kevin mentioned this, and I thought it was really important to talk about as well, because this past week, we saw 2 NBA organizations get fined for their alleged tanking. One of those teams is the Utah Jazz with my guy, Lauri Markkanen, who got benched in Miami alongside newly acquired Jaren Jackson Jr. The Jazz are winning on the road in Miami, and they get benched, and somehow the Jazz still won the game. And afterwards, you had Bam Adebayo saying, we got to find a way to win against a team that's trying to lose. And that is an awful look for the NBA. And I know that Adam Silver was not happy about it. But when you have players like a Darren Peterson or a AJ DeBonsa or a Cameron Boozer, there's so many talented players coming into the NBA with the 2026 draft. But we have to find a way to, like, I don't know what the solution is. So I'm going to ask you guys, Alex, what would be your solution to prevent tanking in the NBA?
I also am in the same boat as you. I truly don't know. I heard this one take about once you're out of like playoff contention, then you have like draft order points based on how many games you win, or you win in overtime or stuff like that. And based off of that, the highest percentage, or the team that has the highest winning percentage automatically gets the number 1 draft pick or something like that, or gets the higher likelihood of getting it. And maybe that's how it goes. I know people are just like upset in general about tanking, and they're really going at Adam Silver. Like, I don't think Adam Silver is a bad commissioner, but I'd also I like how creative he is with trying to find solutions to a bunch of different things, right? Like the All-Star game format and to this issue like tanking. But I just feel like when a draft is so top heavy, I mean, really, if we're being honest, it's really like the top maybe like 8, 9, 10 picks in this year's draft. So everyone wants to get really the top 4, but if you could get top 10, they want top 10. And so that's why they're tanking so much. I don't even want to take the players the players because they're trying to win the games, right? So like I kind of exclude them, but this is really front office and management, right? And so to me personally, you got to kind of go at them, but I don't know what the solution is. And I'm actually really interested to see what Adam Silver kind of cooks up and see if it works, right? And that's why I appreciate Adam Silver, because he tries something, it don't work, he'll try something else, right? And he'll figure it out. I love the play-in tournament, at least for the Western Conference. Eastern Conference is a little sketchy, but things like that I feel like is really important for the league. And so I don't know what the answer is.
Kevin, what would be your solution to the NBA's tanking problem?
So I've seen a lot of things like you guys have via social media. I saw that NBA rookies should come in as free agents and pick where they want to go. I absolutely hate that because that makes the bottom teams the bottom. I've seen top people talking about doing like some kind of tournament and the winner gets the number 1 pick. I don't think that's really the way to go. I think you have to keep finding people, because you look at the Jazz, you look at the Wizards, you look at the guys who are purposely trying to lose games. And this is going to sound crazy coming in from me, but the Kings are playing all their starters and we still suck. Like we're doing an organic tank. Like we're going out there and we're playing. We're not sitting guys down. We're not letting them play 3 quarters and sit in the 4th. Like we just genuinely have a bad team. The Pacers genuinely have a bad team. And it's like, I get it. The Jazz want to keep their pick. The Wizards want to keep their pick. But it's like, at some point, enough has to be enough, because DeMar DeRozan, Sabonis, Zach LaVine, you see the 3 of them on a team, you're saying there's no way they're the worst team in the NBA. But we are. And it's like, it's organic. We're not, are we trying to lose? Of course. But are we going out there and playing the Stockton Kings? No. I don't know what we're going to do to fix this. The only logical way I see it working is you take out the lottery system. The worst team gets the number 1 pick. Because there is so much unknown about the number 1 pick, and it's like we have to lose as many games as possible to even have a chance at the top 4 picks, it makes it worse for basketball. Because the Jets, because I remember example, we talked about a couple years ago when the Niners, no shade, had a top 10 pick. And if we had a lottery and they somehow get Travis Hunter, like there should be no lottery. It should be the worst team gets the first pick, the second worst team gets the second pick, and it's just flat out. There's no ins and outs about it. So the Jazz right now, who have the 6th pick, they have a 9% chance to get the number 1 pick would be 0. The only team that has the number 1 pick are between the second and worst, the first worst and the second worst team. It just makes it easy. There's no way to get around it. There's no lottery ball that's going to fall your way. And I think that's the easiest way to go with tanking. Because we're going to try to do something so crazy that it ruins the game. We can't have the rookies come in as free agents because no one's going to Sac. No one's going to Washington. No one's going to New Orleans. Everyone's going to the Lakers, the Heat. There's no point. We're going to run ourselves in circles trying to figure this out when the NFL model is better. The worst team in the NBA, worst team in the NFL gets the number 1 pick. And that's how it's got to be.
You don't think teams deliberately at the end of the season then will try to lose as many games as they can? Because, I mean, I think you have to kind of take this into, like, 2 different, like, scenarios, right? Like, the Kings and the Indiana Pacers, like, they just suck. Like, no, they're just a bad.
Just not good. We don't have to say suck.
Oh, I'm sorry. Apologies. Apologies to the Indiana Pacers fans.
Trash.
Yeah. Like they just don't have the teams, and they play their players. They just don't win compared to the Wizards and the Utah Jazz, where they're just taking guys out. You know what I mean? Like we need to penalize those teams. But like I could see the Utah Jazz trying to be like, all right, we need to lose the last 12 or 15 games, so we have the worst record over the Sacramento Kings, so that we get the first draft pick. I could literally see that happening. So I don't like that option either. I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what to do.
But it's like the Kings have lost their last 14 games. So for someone to come up and beat them for the number one pick would essentially have to say the three of us, Toddy, and our mom are going to be the five guys playing. Like, they're going to have to blatantly take. And it's like, dude, that's going to affect sales. Like, you can't just go out there and blatantly tank. There's 82 games. You can't go out there and go, no one's going to go 0-82. But it's just like teams that it leaves the window of opportunity open. Because if the Jazz, because right now they're seventh. Their pick is top 8 protected. So that's why they're tanking. But if they had no wiggle room, there's nowhere to go. If you finish at the 6, you're getting your 6th pick. You're getting your pick. It clears out all the gray. It's either black or white, either a winner or a loser. So that it takes away all the, because for perfect example, for the past, not this season, but the past 5 years, the Detroit Pistons were the worst team in the NBA. And they never got the first overall pick. So if you're a loser, you don't get no rewarding for being a loser. But the Mavericks trade Luka Doncic and somehow get the number one pick.
That is weird. I mean,
even with the lottery, people say it's a conspiracy. Like, there's conspiracies with everything. So this way, it just makes it black and white. The worst team gets the best pick. The best team gets the last pick.
I see that.
I would just worry about that kind of being just like the NFL. Like the lottery system was put in place to prevent that, because we see in the NFL a team like the Raiders are purposefully losing until they know that they secured the last or the first overall pick, and then they choose to beat the Chiefs in the regular season finale. But I'm kind of stumped when it comes to this, because there's a way that you could try to penalize teams into not tanking. Like Adam Silver was asked at his All-Star press conference, have you considered all options, like stripping a draft pick? And he was like, yeah, we have considered all options. We have thrown everything out there. And so it's like, oh, what if I'm just going to throw the Utah Jazz out there. There's probably better teams, but the Utah Jazz, they purposefully lose because they're sitting in a game that they're winning. They are sitting their starters and sitting their best players going into the final quarter. It's not like they just decided to rest them for the entire game. In a game that they are winning on the road in another conference, they are choosing deliberately to sit their best players. And so to prevent that from happening, you could say, okay, Utah, you tanked all the way to the 3rd overall pick, but guess what? We have proven that you have deliberately tanked to get this pick. And so now we're going to strip your pick. And that would be absolutely crazy.
But
I don't think that will happen. Yeah. I feel like every other team moves up a slot and then you put them at the back end of the lottery. Like if that were going to be a thing.
Okay.
But I don't know if it ever would become a thing, because then you're ruining the relationships between the owners and the commissioner and all of Adam Silver's employees and everyone in that NBA office. Because let's not forget, Adam Silver, at the end of the day, he works for the owners. The owners are the ones who choose to pay his salary and for him to manage everything for them in a fair manner. And so, and we see a lot of ambiguity too in plenty of different situations. But it's like, who's to say that the Sacramento Kings aren't deliberately tanking? And talking about the Kings, since Kevin mentioned this at the top, I saw a tweet last week, which I just thought was absolutely perfect. You might have seen it as well. As there was a guy named Matt at 6 Rings of Steel, basically at 6 Rings of Steel. He says, which NBA team deserves the number 1 pick this year the most? And then someone named Rays quoted it and said, "We the most ethical tank in the league. No benching star players, no tanking gimmicks, just pure ass hoops." As you see a photo of Domantas Sabonis and DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine, a bunch of veterans, NBA All-Stars who the Kings have just brought together to just create nothing but pure ass hoops. Like the Kings, they did rest a lot of players when they recently played the Jazz, and AJ DeBonsa was sitting courtside. I'm just saying, Kevin, because I know you're a huge Darren Peterson guy. But yeah, the Kings have just been absolutely dreadful. But who's to say that the Kings haven't been deliberately tanking and the Jazz are, or vice versa? And so if you get to that point where you're trying to prove that a team is actually tanking, that's where it could get ambiguous. And then you have Adam Silver hearing about it from the Utah owner, Ryan Smith. But then Vivek Ranadive is like, yeah, we're competing. We putting all-stars on the court. So it's a sticky situation. I wanted to get to a quick YouTube comment. As Uncle Manny said, the tanking is ridiculous. The option I kind of like that I heard of is have the order of the selection based on records at the All-Star break. And I think that's interesting. But if teams know going into the season that the All-Star break is longer, yeah, then it's like, okay, we're going to be absolutely terrible and we're going to be 5-35 going into the All-Star break. And then we're going to choose to compete for the rest of the season with our young players. And then they could finish the year 30-50 and just have a way better record in the second half. So,
that's not a bad idea, because if they just randomly cut it off and said, here's the draft order, it's like, what are we going to suck for? What are we going to sit guys? Like if they just randomly, let's say every year they just cut it off after All-Star break, they don't tell nobody when, and they just cut it right here on today, February 27th or 26th. It's cut off. Whatever draft order you have now, we're going to do the ping pong bongs live right now, and that's what it is. So the rest of the season, you have to compete. But it's
or it could be the only part in the second half of the season. Like, we won't tell you the date, but just know, like.
No, you can't even tell them, because like Shaun said, they're going to be like, all right, well, at some point it's going to happen, so what are we competing for? But it's like, but then again, it's like you have to get owners to sign off on that, and they're not going to sign off on it knowing that it can just be whenever we have a full moon in the second half of the season, they're going to just cut the season off. So there's no real way to fix this, but finding people $500,000 on a billionaire that's gas money.
Nothing, bro.
So it's unless you're going to find dudes millions of dollars, I don't care.
So I have
the game. That's what's pissing me off. But anyway.
I have a crazy thought, and this isn't an original idea. I saw some talking head on ESPN say this. And I also wanted to mention that Danny Green said today on ESPN, former NBA player, that when it comes to tanking, like the players are not involved in it at all. The players on the rosters, they go out there trying to compete. If they just have a bad roster or they don't have team chemistry, then sometimes they're just bad. Like that's what Amon Shumpert said today as well on NBA Today, is that they asked him, have you ever been on a team that's tanking? And Amon was like, well, I haven't necessarily been on a team that's tanking, but I've been on some bad teams. And everyone remembers that he was shortly on the Sacramento Kings when they were introducing the Scores and that nickname of the team. And so it's interesting. And so as I now present my crazy idea that I am now regurgitating, none other than Mr. Jaevon Toddy, the Podfather, is joining us. How you doing today, Jaevon?
Thank you for blessing us with your presence, sir.
Oh, my God.
I survived the birthday party. We're here.
You survived the birthday party. Kudos and happy birthday to Mako.
We did it. Feel like LeBron after he won. He brought a championship to Cleveland.
Mako, this is for you.
Exactly, Kevin.
So, Toddy, we were just talking about tanking in the NBA, and I was about to finish off this segment just by mentioning a crazy idea. So I'm going to throw it out there, and then Toddy, you can give us your thoughts on tanking and maybe respond to my crazy idea. But and again, this isn't an original thought. It was regurgitated. It's being regurgitated from someone on ESPN. I wish I could remember to credit them. But what if you take the 14 lottery teams, so the teams that do not make the playoffs, and then you have the current players on that roster compete in a postseason tournament for the picks. So
the team
wins the team that gets the number 1 overall pick, they win that draft tournament. And then whoever gets second, so on and so forth. I feel like that would at least prevent tanking, because it's like, okay, you're going to have 16 teams competing for the playoffs. And if you can't get to the playoffs, then you're going to be in that 14. And then those 14 teams all have the same odds depending on the strength of your team. The only thing that I think is a bad idea about that is you could have a team that's absolutely loaded, that's decimated by injuries throughout a season, and then they get healthy by the end of the season, and they are one of those 14 teams, and you put them in that tournament. Then you have a team that could have been a top 3 seed in their conference, but they missed the playoffs because they got absolutely decimated by injuries. And then they get the number 1 overall pick, and they're adding a Darren Peterson to a LeBron and Luka or whoever. And so that it's a dangerous idea, but I'm just throwing it out there. Toddy, what do you think about that, and what do you think about tanking overall?
Well, I think tanking is just getting too obvious now. You're looking at teams that are getting fined 100,000, 500,000. They're not even trying to hide it. They're bringing guys on 2-way contracts into the starting lineup. So I mean, it's kind of a slippery slope, because there's a bunch of teams out there who have tanked in the past. Like, you look at a team like OKC in the past that's literally built their team through the draft. You look at a team like the Celtics, built their team through the draft. Like, all these stars were drafted by their team. So tanking does have its perks. Now, there are teams that just can't get in their own way, and they'll be good enough to not be ass, like the Chicago Bulls. They're one of those teams that are like always in the play-in, but they're never good enough to be in that top, or never bad enough to be in that top 5 range. So it's definitely a slippery slope. That would award a lot of those middle ground limbo teams that are kind of in the middle. I feel like those teams would be the most rewarded from Shaun's scenario of being, hey, we're not that bad, but we're not that good enough to be a playoff team, but we're not that bad enough to get a top 3 pick. So those types of teams would be all for it. Now, on the other side, there's those teams like Sacramento. I mean, obviously the worst team in the league right now. Only been in the playoffs, and I don't know how long it's been, and they're still bad. So it's like, okay, you've been tanking for this long, and how are you still this bad? So that's where a lot of it comes to, is bad ownership. You can't really get out of your own way when it comes to that. That's just inevitable. You could, like, they've had so many chances to pick the guy in the last 20 years, and it's just, all right, we're kind of just stuck here. And then you have, like I said earlier, teams like OKC, like the Celtics. I think the Wizards are trying to build something currently right now. I think if you have a competent front office, that can something like that can't really be changed overnight, because I think a meddling owner can get in the way of all of that. So a lot of it does have to do with your front office, your ownership, and where the team is as a franchise. And then you got teams like the Mavericks last year, who sold. Mark Cuban sold ownership. Apparently he's trying to buy the team back. I'm not sure if that's true or not, according to reports. But sold the team. They trade away Luka for Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis ends up eventually, hindsight 2020, gets traded away. And you're kind of looking around like, okay, I understand that they did, by a freak accident, like triple, like the freakiest thing ever possible, they end up getting the number 1 pick. They had like a 0.5% chance of getting that. So the odds of that happening, if you were to spin that 100 times, that would probably be the only time that they ever would get the number 1 pick. Like 10 times out of 10, that does not happen. They got blessed somehow, some way with the number 1 pick. And so now you still obviously have Cooper Flagg, but the team around it, it seems like they're trying to tear the team down, and they still have guys like Kyrie Irving, who's coming back from injury. Don't know what his future looks like with the Dallas Mavericks, but taking works. There are definitely examples of it actually working, and then there are examples of it being like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, there's no way you guys should be this big. You guys should have some type of promise. You should have assets. Like, I'm going to keep going back to the Kings. Like, you can't be bad and have, like, expensive players that are making all this money, and you can't do it. You're, like, stuck. You can't be bad and be stuck. It's either one or the other. If you're bad, you're supposed to have a young, exciting couple of prospects that are kind of like, oh, okay. I feel like the Hornets are in that phase of, all right, we've been bad for so long, but we've been accumulating all of these top 5 picks: LaMelo, Conca-Nipple, Brandon Miller. And you obviously have a Miles Bridges, who was also drafted to that team. And then the Pistons, another team, got Cade Cunningham. You have Jalen Duren, who's an all-star. You drafted a Jaden Ivey, obviously, was a top pick, but obviously they get traded. Marcus Sasser, Isaiah Stewart. These are all guys they accumulated through the draft process, and now they're starting to reap the benefits of their team actually being good. So I mean, there's just a bunch of things that go all the way into it. I just think if you have the right front office, GM, ownership, it should be able to figure itself out.
It'll be interesting to see if Adam Silver can figure it out. But Kevin, what are your final thoughts on this?
So going back to your idea of letting the bottom 14 teams play, I think the idea is great. It gives people a reason to actually want to compete at the end of the season and make it. They'll make money off it for sure. But the only problem I see with that is 3 teams in the bottom 14 don't own their first. So you're gonna let the Thunder play in the tournament. You're gonna let the San Antonio Spurs play. You're gonna let the Atlanta Hawks play. Like, is there a world where SGA goes crazy for 4 games and they get the number 1 pick? So it's like, if they just say you can't trade any more first-round picks, that idea is probably the best one we've come up with. But like I said, people like the Thunder are one of those picks, the Spurs. So you're telling me before the playoffs start, you got to play in a death match for the number 1 pick and then go win a championship? People would lose their minds.
Yeah, that is an excellent point when it comes to teams trading away their first-round picks, because you can't have a playoff team having to go play for a pick that someone else traded to them. So that's an excellent point. The only counterpoint that I'll add to that is think about all the teams that have lottery protected picks or top 10, top 5, top 3 protected picks. Then you can say to your team, like, hey, if you guys want to play with AJ DeBonsa next season, then how about you go out there and you keep our pick? Because otherwise you're going to be playing with a Devin Carter or something like that. And so got to throw shade at my own guy who was a back end of the lottery pick. So it'll be interesting. We will continue to cover tanking as we keep it moving here on Stats
Personal request, Sean.
Yes, sir.
I got to get out of here soon. So if you want to do your pop quiz, I would love to participate so I can get a point.
All right. Well, thank you for bringing that to my attention. Now let's get right to it with Sean's pop quiz. And real quickly, I wanted to ask Jaevon and Alex, do you want to talk about the NBA award rules after we do the pop quiz? And what that is in regard to is the 65 game limit that is preventing a guy like LeBron James from making an all NBA team. Sounds good. We'll do that afterwards. Okay. So we'll circle back to that. Thank you, Kevin, for mentioning that. We're going to get to the pop quiz. It's now time for season 4 of Sean's pop quiz. We hope those of you have tuned in before, but if you're new to it, Kevin is our reigning defending undisputed champion. He's a 2-time champion of Sean's pop quiz. And Jaevon has 1 title. Kevin has 2. Alex is looking for her first, but a redesign of Shaun's Pop Quiz coming into a new season is now we're going to do them exclusively based on the sport that we're talking about in that season. So we're going to have basketball pop quizzes going forward. Maybe we might sprinkle in a little college. Maybe we'll sprinkle in some WNBA or Unrivaled. But we're going to be talking basketball for the next 6 months or so here on Shaun's Pop Quiz. Then we're going to return to football with Kaz when the fall comes. So starting things off with question number 1, I got 2 questions for you guys today and 3 possible answers. So Alex, I'm going to start things. Yes, sir.
Okay. I didn't know if we were doing one. I didn't know if we were just going to raise our hands. I wanted to make sure Alex understood.
Yes. Thank you for checking in. It's at times I've learned from previous quizzes that I try to keep my eyes on the screen. I try to keep my ears open to make sure that whoever asks or whoever calls for it first gets it, or like Toddy learned, like he'll put his hand up before I even ask the question. And so going into a new season, I'm going to try to give everyone an opportunity to at least answer their own question, and then it can be stolen after that. And it can be stolen by raising a hand after the question has been asked. And so
that's the
Alex,
problem.
Alex, this is going to be your question, and then I got a question that Jaevon and Kevin can share. So, Alex, Anthony Edwards won All-Star Game MVP. There's been one other Minnesota Timberwolf to do it. Who is it?
Kevin Garnett.
Ding, ding, ding. That is correct. Kevin Garnett won All-Star Game MVP in 2003. I mean, to be honest, I would have there's not that many names with the Minnesota Timberwolves that you could throw out there, but Karl Anthony Towns is definitely a good guess as well, because he's had his solid efforts in the All-Star game in the past. I remember one particular All-Star game where he was just on an absolute heater.
Did he score like 50?
I think he was up there. He scored a lot. And shout out to Uncle Jerry, as he says, yeah, Alex Garnett. Uncle Jerry knew about it. And also shout out to Smooth, who says they need to play one-on-one like the women just had, as he's talking about All-Star Weekend, potentially spicing it up some more. We saw that in Unrivaled as Chelsea Gray beat Alicia Gray in the championship, and she got $200,000 for winning that one-on-one tournament. I saw that on Saturday evening. It was quite entertaining. And so I agree with that. And so now moving on to the next question. This one goes to Jaevon. So we saw Kashad Johnson of the Miami Heat win the dunk contest. It's been a while since there has been a player who won the dunk contest in the same season that they were an all-star selection. So the last time that it happened, Jaevon, was in 2014. Who was the player to win the dunk contest in the same season that they were an all-star? This happened in 2014.
Is it Blake Griffin?
No, that is incorrect, but that is an excellent guess. So now it's a free-for-all. Kevin, I see you. Go ahead.
So I was going to say Zach LaVine, but that's 16. 2014, I'm going to go.
I see you, Jaevon.
2014, that's a hell of a pull. Is it somebody we would guess?
Yes. Okay, Alex, you're going to be after Jaevon.
But it's not just towards the Miami Heat. It's every
No. Yeah, it's everyone. I was just saying Kashad Johnson of the Miami Heat won this weekend. But the last time that a reigning all-star Kevin?
Kevin's cheating.
No,
cheating?
Kevin's not cheating. My phone is locked.
Okay.
Dude, I don't even have
Kevin, I'm gonna need a guess, because I don't
even have a guess.
Okay.
I'm kind of
But in all fairness, Alex should get a chance before Toddy, because Toddy got the original question.
Yeah. Okay, wait. So they were an all-star and they won the dunk contest in 2014?
Yeah.
Yeah, they won the dunk contest in 2014, and they were an all-star in 2014. So they won the dunk contest on Saturday night. They played in the all-star game on Sunday night. Alex, I need a guess.
2014. 2014.
Blake Griffin was an excellent guess. That was like right around his range. Alex, I'm going to need a guess in 5 seconds. Just no, that is incorrect, but another good guess. Nope, that is incorrect, but he is a prolific dunker. So Toddy, back around to you. If you can't get this, Toddy, then I will reveal the answer. Actually, I'll give a hint if Toddy can't get this, and then we'll give it one more rotation.
Okay, well then I'm next after the hint.
Okay.
I'm gonna go.
I just raised my hand before you.
You did it.
I'm gonna.
Toddy, go ahead.
Dwight Howard.
No, that is incorrect. But another good guess.
That's a hell of a pull. I was thinking guards. I wasn't thinking about big man.
Okay, well, the hint, as it'll go, Kevin, Alex, and then Toddy. The hint is, I'm trying to think of a hint that's a good hint, but doesn't give it away completely.
Oh no, he wasn't an all-star.
Okay. The hint. Okay, here's the hint. This player who won the dunk contest in 2014 and was an all-star that season was a member of the Washington Wizards.
John Wall?
Ding, ding, ding. That is correct, Kevin. You got it.
I remember when he did it was the backwards dunk.
I was going to say Nate Robinson, but I don't think he was ever an all-star.
John Wall in 2014 was the last player to win the dunk contest in the same season with an all-star selection. So, Kevin, I'm going to toss this last one to you because even though John Wall was the last guy to win the dunk contest in the same weekend as he was an all-star, there is one other guy in the last 10 years who has won the dunk contest and made an all-star game in general. So he didn't make the all-star game in the year that he won it. In 2018, he won the dunk contest. But this player is a 7-time all-star. So, Alex, this is Kevin's question, but I will toss it to you if he's unable to answer it. So
in 2018, he won, but he was an all-star before that.
I believe so. I don't have that information right in front of me. I can take a look, but I can just tell you that he is a 7-time all-star and he won the dunk contest in 2018.
Blake Griffin?
Wow.
No, that is incorrect. So now over to Alex and then potentially Toddy. Go ahead. Ding, ding, ding. That is correct. Donovan Mitchell. Spider.
What a fucking Toddy, you were going to guess that.
Won the dunk contest in 2018, and he is a 7-time all-star. And to answer, Kevin, to answer the question that you had, at that point, he had not made the all-star game yet because he's made it 7 years in a row from 2020 to 2026. And so, yeah, you look at this list that they showed on NBA. Well, it's too small. The point is that you look at the last 10. I mean, John Wall was the last guy to be an all-star and win the dunk contest because we don't even have current all-stars competing in the dunk contest anymore. But you had Glenn Robinson III, Hamidou Diallo, Derrick Jones Jr., Anthony Simons, Obi Toppin
from New York,
Mac McClung 3 times, and now Kashad Johnson. All of those guys have not made a single all-star game, but Donovan Mitchell stands out in 2018 as a guy who's done it 7 times. So after the first round of Shaun's Pop Quiz Season 4, Alex is in the lead with 2. Kevin has 1, and Jaevon has a goose egg like Shams Charania. And so we will keep it moving as Kevin has to head out. Thank you, Kevin. All the best to Alyssa as we keep things moving here on on Stats Over Politics, episode number 182. Shaun Holko alongside Jaevon Toddy and Alex Dent. So, guys, we were talking about the NBA award rules, and now there is a minimum of 65 games that need to be played to be eligible for postseason awards. And all those awards go from the All-NBA teams to MVP. Everything you can imagine that is a regular season award is affected by if you played 65 games in the season or not, which basically means if you have one bad injury like an ankle sprain that keeps you out for a month or two, then you are no longer eligible for the awards. And that's significant. And I believe Kevin mentioned it as a timely topic because LeBron James just recently missed his 18th game, which means that he is not eligible to make the All NBA team for the first time in a very, very long time. Actually, LeBron had made 21 consecutive All NBA teams. And now, because of this rule, he is not eligible. So, Jaevon, I want to get your thoughts. What do you think about the 65 game minimum for NBA awards?
I mean, they're probably going to change it back because LeBron, once LeBron started missing shit like this, it's just like, all right, what are we doing? We just got to throw somebody else in there because this guy played more games than the other guy. But hey, there's this other guy, I don't know if you heard him, multiple time. He's made the All NBA team for 20 plus years of his NBA career. And I don't know if there's anybody in the history that's done that. So, but he's not on the list because he is 40 plus years old and he's trying to play a game that's tailored for 19 to like 20, 19 to 30 year olds. And usually once you start to hit those mid 30s, you kind of start to tailor off a little bit. But no, he's still averaging 20. He's an all-star, by the way. Let's not get that misconstrued. Usually when you make an all-star team, you're usually kind of almost guaranteed. I wouldn't say guaranteed, but you're in really, really good spirits to make an all NBA team. Now, it may not be first team, but you're guaranteed. You're probably going to make one of those 3 all NBA teams. But now, since there's this new 65 game, you have to play a minimum of 65 games. Then it's going to, I was looking at the MVP, like the MVP odds, and you're looking at guys like, obviously LeBron's probably not going to make because he was hurt, but guys like a Jokic, who's in jeopardy of missing it, guys like Luka, who's missed multiple games. You kind of start getting down the list, and it's like, all right, well, Donovan Mitchell, come on down. Can you hold this trophy for me and then raise it up? We'll get a picture of you and then be like, what's this for? Oh, we just need a picture of you holding the MVP award trophy. And then all of a sudden, Donovan Mitchell's been named MVP. Now, I'm not saying he's not good enough to win the award, but you're kind of starting to get to you're starting to get to a point where it's like this person's going to win it by default. I love Jaylen Brown. I think Jaylen Brown's having an all NBA type season. I'm starting to see him, and he's going to win the MVP. And I'm just like, what? Like, I got a player who I do believe should be mentioned in MVP talks, not just because there are all these guys who are kind of getting excommunicated due to the fact that they haven't played enough games. It's Cade Cunningham. They're first in the East. I think he's been playing phenomenal. He's averaging 25 plus. I think he's averaging also double digit assists, almost triple double if I'm not mistaken. He's a guy I think should be in conversations, not just because he's one of the last guys standing, because that's kind of when it started to get down to. And that's not something the MVP award, and just when you go down the list all the way down to Bill Russell and Jerry West, these guys are like Hall of Famers that we're talking about. We can't just give the MVP award to anybody. And I'm not saying that it's going to, usually that guy, when we're starting to get further down the list, they're obviously still an all-star. But when we start to get to Alperen Sengun and, like Jalen Brunson, and I'm not saying Jalen Brunson, I just don't think, like, there's levels to the MVP award. And I feel like it kind of starts to get really, really blurred lines when you start to implement that 65-game rule. And I think going back to when the rule was implemented, it was when Joel Embiid missed a bunch of games, but he still won the MVP award. Everybody was like, oh, he only played this amount of games. But when he was healthy and playing, he was obviously the best player in the world at that time. I just never really was a fan of the rule because injuries do happen. I think just because you do get hurt doesn't mean you're not one of the best players in the world. I mean, like we see guys like Kawhi Leonard who went off for like 30 in the quarter. But just sometimes they're just riddled by injury. And I think that shouldn't hinder or stop somebody from getting all of the accolades that they deserve. Because when they are on the floor, they are as special as anybody in the world. So, I mean, even like guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's going to miss. He's missing time due to, I think, an abdomen injury. I'm not sure if he's going to miss that much time, given to the fact that it happened during an All-Star break. So, missed a little bit of time. Probably going to miss a little bit of time once his All-Star break is over. But I don't think it's going to be enough for him to be bowed out of any of the awards. So, and that when you start to miss time on awards, that goes into when people are going to renegotiate their contracts. Hey, I was an All-NBA. I was this. I was that. I won this award. You're affecting people's bread at this point. So when you kind of break it all the way down, the grand scheme of things, the rule definitely has to be eliminated because when you got guys like literally LeBron James, oh yeah, just by the way, guys, how many times? Oh, I was All-NBA 5 times. I was All-NBA 7 times. But 6 times I was All-NBA. That's really good. LeBron James, 20 times. All like 20 times is absolutely unheard of. So I think this is going to start to raise the eyebrow. Like, all right, guys, what the fuck are we really doing here? Like, why is LeBron not at least on it? Like, at minimum, LeBron is going to be on the 3rd All-NBA team. Literally, like, bare minimum. I get it. He missed a bunch of games, this, that, and the 3rd. He's at least 3rd team All-NBA. He's not going to make an All-NBA team. Like, that's just absolutely unheard of. It's like I was a child. I was in grade school the last time he did make an All-NBA team. Just think about that for a second. I'm 27 years old. 27. It's almost 30 years I've been on this planet. LeBron's been All-NBA the entire time that, for the majority, I've probably been watching basketball. He's been on an All-NBA team. So I think this is probably going to have to hit the kicker like, all right, guys, we gotta tweak a couple of things here and there. So yeah, I think it's kind of stupid.
Yeah, LeBron James is greatness personified. And Jaevon, I'm really glad that you mentioned the contract implications that come from this rule, because that's what I was going to mention. So you did it for me, because I was listening to the Mind the Game podcast. That is LeBron's podcast. Usually he hosted with Steve Nash, but Steve Nash has been away for a couple episodes. So he brought in Tyrese Halliburton as a guest host for a couple episodes. And they were talking about this, and Tyrese said, yeah, I hated it when it first came out because I was eligible for the Supermax if I made an All-NBA team. And LaMelo and Anthony Edwards, the guys who he came into the league with in 2020, they all were trying to get the super duper max, but they had those contract terms that stated how much money their ceiling could be. And so now you have a guy like, I mean, Jaevon, you are our betting expert on this podcast. And I'll just mention this because you said LeBron James and how he made it in 21 straight seasons on the All-NBA team. That is basically the best bet that you can make. That is a guarantee. Someone probably put their house on the fact that they thought LeBron was going to be an All-NBA selection for the 22nd consecutive season. And now, because of this rule, someone is living in a box because of this rule. And so it's a shame. But Alex, what are your thoughts on this rule?
I'm kind of mixed about it because I know they did it for the 65. They did the 65 game limit to prevent not tanking. We just talked about tanking, load management. And so, but I also like it because I feel like it gives other guys who deserve like the All-NBA nod some credit. So like, for instance, like I always think of like Devin Booker. I think Devin Booker is so underrated, but that's because he plays on a kind of mediocre team in the heavy Western Conference. And I feel like he deserves more All-NBA nods but because there's is he one of the top 15 players in the league? He's like that 14 to 16 range, maybe he's higher, but I feel like that gives him like he gets the nod over some players. However, right, I don't know if I think LeBron this year should get an all NBA nod, only because he is getting up there. Like it had to the streak had to end. And I bet on a 40-year-old getting an all NBA nod, I probably wouldn't. Right. But I just think that I like it, but I don't. But I'm leaning towards not liking it as well, because I think like Isaiah Stewart is a good example. Like I think he just missed a few games because he was injured, but now with the suspension, he can't get the defensive team anymore. And I think he could have made it, because I think he's doing it. I mean, the Detroit Pistons are doing a great job in general, but I think he is as well. So I understand what the league was trying to do. I think that it's unfortunate with injuries. I think it's a long season. I think only missing 65 games with 82, like a little over 20, not even 20 games, 18 games. I think that's not enough, especially when you have like you said, Shaun, like a sprained ankle and you take 2 weeks off, and that might be the busiest 2 weeks that you have in like the first quarter of the season, and you miss 16 games just right, like those 2.5, 3 weeks. And so I think that it should be lowered a little bit, but there should be a limit, I do believe, but maybe not 65 games.
Yeah, because you had a guy like LeBron. The reason why he's in this position is because for the first time in his career, he was not healthy enough to start an NBA season. And so it took a little bit more time for him to get started. I think about a guy like Jason Tatum. Even though Jason Tatum has now missed more than half of this season, it's because he got injured in the playoffs, and he tore his Achilles in the playoffs, in the second round of the playoffs. So yeah, it's going to take him basically a full season to come back. We're wondering if he's even going to come back this season. But imagine if Jason Tatum got hurt at the beginning of last season, as Toddy leans into the camera and looks right at Alex as their fellow Boston fans. But when I think about a guy like Jason Tatum, like imagine if he got hurt at the beginning of last season or in the middle of last season, and so he wasn't going to be ready to return by the beginning of this season if that were the case. But then he comes in like a month and a half into the season, 2 months into the season. And at that point, he's missed 20 games. But then he has the best season of his career, and he's also the best player in the NBA. He's not eligible for the MVP at that point, even though he's coming off of what used to be career-ending injury, and to come back and not only be back to form, but to be even better. I think of a guy like Kevin Durant, who did that when he was in Brooklyn. And so that's where the rule, as you guys said, the intentions were good when the rule was put into place, but we got to find a way to kind of reshape this a little bit because of those situations that play out. And so it's really interesting. And the last thing I'll say about this is that I think about a guy like Victor Wembanyama. What if Big Vic, he has an injury like last year, he had blood clots that took him out for the rest of the season. But I think about him as arguably the best player in the NBA when it comes to his defensive ability. He could win Defensive Player of the Year every year. And it's because he is the best. But if he's not playing to that minimum, then he's not even eligible. And so it's interesting, and we will continue to debate about it here on Stats Over Politics. We got one final segment, and it's NFL related. And so with that, Alex, I will bid you adieu, and thank you for joining us.
All right. Bye, guys.
We'll see you next week. Oh, sorry, Jaevon. I was in my producer role, and Alex clicked herself off, and so I accidentally bumped you off the screen. As we got one final topic here on episode 182 of Stats Over Politics, Shaun Hoko alongside Jaevon, Toddy the Podfather, as we're getting to the NFL because there were some significant names that became free agents today as the Miami Dolphins decided to release not only Tyreek Hill, but also Bradley Chubb, two guys who are multiple-time Pro Bowlers. And I feel like Tyreek Hill thanked the Lord today, because that's what he did when he dislocated his knee and tore his ACL. Is he said, "Thank you, Lord, for taking me out of this environment." And now officially Tyreek Hill is no longer a Miami Dolphin alongside Bradley Chubb. When I was typing the episode notes, I wrote Nick Chubb, and I'm like, that is incorrect. And so what was your reaction to this news, Jaevon?
Yeah, usually people aren't praying to leave Miami. They're usually praying to go to Miami. So I think with the addition of Jeff Halfley as the new head coach, he's probably kind of starting to clean house, cut a couple of guys who are making a couple of bucks on their team, try and not afford to hit as many cap casualties as possible. I think this is a foreshadowing to Tua possibly getting cut as well. Maybe before free agency starts. We saw with the addition of Sean Payton a couple of years ago as the Broncos head coach, they started to get rid of players. And one of those players happened to be a Russell Wilson who was making about $35+ million a year. And they said, you know what? We'll pay you to not show up. And he said, really? You gonna pay my whole contract? And they say, yep, your services are no longer needed. And they were paying the price for that up until last year. And you saw where the Broncos were in the AFC Championship game. So Sean Payton heavily relied on his scouting department, his GM, and it worked out for them. And they already had a couple of young, pretty solid prospects on the roster already currently. So I think with the Dolphins, you're going to have to rely on the draft picks that you have coming in, because maybe a little bit harder. I'm not saying it's hard to get guys to come to Miami. I just think that guys that are going up against the cap that you're cutting, we're making pretty decent money. And I think another guy who I'm foreshadowing that they're probably going to get rid of is Tua Tagovailoa, who is making north of $50 million a year. So I don't know what his cap hit is if you were to cut him. But I would expect the Dolphins to move into that direction and try to just go young and try to accumulate draft picks moving forward with the new head coach, new regime. So these are good players. I mean, Tyreek Hill obviously suffered, I think it was a broken ankle, if I'm not mistaken. Bradley Chubb.
Dislocated knee and torn ACL.
Okay. Yeah. Very, very bad injuries moving forward. But I think Tyreek Hill has that ability. Now, people are going to say he's 30+ years old, and this is a catastrophic injury. She's a career-ending injury, as it has happened in the past, or you weren't noticed as being the same. And Tyreek Hill relies on his agility, quickness, in and out of cuts as a part of his game. So you don't, and he's getting up there in age, as already mentioned. So you don't know what he's going to look like post ACL surgery. I would imagine he would be, I don't know if he'll be as quick as he once was, but I think he'll still be a very, very solid version of himself moving forward. As far as Bradley Chubb, he's another guy who can get to the quarterback, obviously, makes a good chunk of change. I think in free agency, he'll be one of those edges that will be targeted to a contending team who's looking for something, maybe like 49ers, who are looking for edge help. And probably willing to spend some money, because I don't think he's going to come cheap, in my opinion. So these two releases, I wouldn't say they surprised me. I'd say that this is a bad team with good players on it who are making money, and the team was looking to move in a different direction of like, hey, we're trying to get under the cap. We're trying to just, clear the checkbooks and kind of just start to go young and cheap with our new head coach. And then we'll start to draft younger guys and move in that direction. Not so much as these are probably one of the two best players on our team, if I'm going to be honest. So, I mean, there's from the business perspective, and then there's from a fan perspective, like, hey, this is these are one of our best players, and we're just letting them go. So I'm foreshadowing that Tua Tagovailoa is going to be one of those guys that'll probably be let go of next.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But the crazy part is that Tua already has $54 million fully guaranteed for next season, which is absolutely insane. And Chubb and Hill weren't the only Dolphins who were also released today, alongside Nick Westbrook-Akine, another wide receiver, and a guard in James Daniels. And when you look at the moves in their entirety, they saved the Dolphins roughly $23 million in 2026, and that number increases to $30 million if Bradley Chubb's release is immediate, according to Marcel Louis-Jacques, the Dolphins reporter for ESPN, who, fun fact, is from Sacramento and went to Valley Christian High School. And so shout out to him for coming with that interesting tidbit. And so it'll be interesting because, as we've been saying, Tua is due a lot of money, but the Dolphins seem to be going with a full reset now. And so I would imagine Tua is not going to be on that roster next season as well, Jaevon. But when you just look back on Tyreek Hill's time in Miami, it was quite productive. Like, with all the off the field talk and his post-game press conferences where he's talking about how unhappy he is. I think about Tyreek Hill in his days in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes as a Super Bowl champion. But his days in Miami were pretty good as well. You look at it, he was there for 4 seasons. He was a 3-time team captain, 2-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time Pro Bowler. And in 2023, he set the single-season franchise record for receptions and receiving yards. And so quite a productive time, and now he can make his way over to Santa Clara because we're in desperate need of wide receivers. So we would appreciate him. I'm just saying.
Definitely appreciate him.
Definitely. Toddy, any closing thoughts before we get on out of here?
The combine's coming up. I think that's in like another week or so. So we're starting to hit on that. College basketball is coming. Kind of, I wouldn't say winding down, but they're starting to get towards the tournament. So we're about to hit the like dog days of sports where it's like baseball. Baseball. That's all we got. So that'll start to. We won't slow up here on the pod, but I'm just saying, like, you start to get creative in those times. Start looking at the draft, the NFL schedule, like things like that, and maybe sprinkle some college football in there. But yeah, we're getting to it.
Yeah, thankfully we still got another 5 months till those true dog days of summer when all you got is baseball. And this summer we may not even have the WNBA to get us by. And so I'm looking forward to.
They're like having like a lockout or something, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, they right now they have not agreed to a new collective bargaining agreement for this upcoming season, and so
that's why you see them playing all these other leagues and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah, Unrivaled has become a big thing. The 3-on-3 league that was started by WNBA players Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, and something interesting to come out. I believe it was today. Is that Breanna Stewart signed a new contract with I think it's Fenerbahce or something like that, the team that she plays for overseas. And the reason why that's interesting is it's like she's currently playing in Unrivaled. Like, Unrivaled was created so players don't have to go overseas in the offseason anymore to get their bread. But now Breanna Stewart is agreeing to play for this international club. It's probably because she knows that a lockout is coming. And so she wants to continue playing. She wants to get her money and maybe go win another championship overseas. And I don't blame her at all for that. It's going to be interesting, but I'm looking forward to March Madness, looking forward to the NBA playoffs after that, and even the draft, as we were just talking about tanking. It's going to be interesting to see who the Sacramento Kings get. And so I'm looking forward to that. And with that, that does it for episode 182 of Stats Over Politics. Make sure to give us a like on YouTube. It helps us a lot. And if you enjoyed the podcast, hit subscribe to get notifications when we go live. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Stats Over Politics, and on X at Stats or Politics. See all the great content Kevin's putting out there. And make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on all podcast platforms. If you're enjoying the show, give us those 5 stars. We'd really appreciate it. As you guys have been tuned into episode number 182, Stats Over Politics. For my guys, Jaevon Toddy, Kevin Dent, Alex Dent, Kaz Johnson, and Gary Singh, I've been your host, Sean Holko. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week on another episode of Stats Over Politics. Peace.